Hello and welcome to News Review. We start this week with the opposition staging a walkout from Parliament Tuesday afternoon in protest at the government's refusal to provide details of all investments, payments and loans made by Credit Finance Limited since its incorporation. The request was made in a parliamentary question by the leader of the opposition, Daniel Feetham. But in reply, the Minister for Employment, Joe Bossano, said the government was not prepared to disclose this information.
It had been a rather tetchy morning, during which the opposition had also bridled at a criticism from the Speaker that a question by Shadow Employment Minister Damon Bossino was too long, even though Mr. Bossino claimed he had asked it in the same way twice before and no one had complained. With lunchtime approaching, Mr. Feetham asked the Chief Minister to provide a list of all investments, payments and loans made by Credit Finance Company Limited since its incorporation, with amounts and dates, together with details of who they were made to. The answer was given by Joe Bossano.
Mr. Speaker, the government will not provide how the commercial credit finance company makes its investments. No. That it is not information that the government is prepared to provide.
I have to say that is an extraordinary, shocking answer. I have been a member of this House for 6 years. I have never heard such a shocking answer as the one that he's provided. This is £344 million that the government is saying that it's not going to account to this House, that the government has no duty to account to this House at budget time, because this is off balance sheet, off estimates of revenue and expenditure, and we take the opportunity of asking a question about it, a question and answers, and the honourable gentleman, true to form, it has to be said, because we had considered this question and what his response would be prior to asking it. It's shocking and extraordinary, it has to say. And I have to say, Mr. Speaker, that as a consequence of that answer, which we thought that he would give because he is a leopard, does not change his spots, the opposition is walking out of this Parliament in response to what is an extraordinary state of affairs in the failure of this government to provide how it is spent, how £344 million, of which some of it is savers' money, is being, and all of it is government money, is being spent and is being loaned out to third parties.
The 7 opposition members then walked out of the chamber and were absent as the House concluded its business, submitting written answers to the remaining questions and passing 3 bills before adjourning sine die.
Meanwhile, following the walkout, the leader of the opposition said the issue is not going to go away. Daniel Feetham said there are 2 vitally important issues at stake which go to the very heart of the role of our Parliament and the economic well-being of Gibraltar and its future generations.
The first issue, according to the opposition, is the government's lack of explanations on its having used £344 million of Gibraltar Savings Bank money to buy shares in a government-owned company. This, it says, is of great economic importance to Gibraltar. The other, it states, goes straight to the proper working of our parliamentary democracy and Parliament's ability to scrutinise the use of public money by the government. The opposition says the fact that Fabian Picardo and Joe Bossano refused to answer questions about what Credit Finance Company Limited does with the money is effectively off-balance sheet government expenditure, without Parliament scrutiny or control. The GST claims this renders Parliament irrelevant and could hardly be more serious. It believes Mr. Picardo is deceiving public opinion when he implies that the GST government and Sir Peter Caruana used to do the same thing, and says the very opposite is true. In any case, it adds, this is the New Dawn government that promised more openness and transparency, while it misled voters into thinking that under the GST government, public finances were concealed behind an impenetrable curtain. The second issue, it says, of justified concern to savings bank debenture holders is Parliament's inability to check the safety of savers' money and government's continuing ability to repay it when debentures mature. Opposition leader Daniel Feetham says the opposition will be meeting shortly to decide its next steps in what he terms the very grave matter that led it to take the rare but necessary step of leaving Parliament. The issue, he adds, is too serious to be lost in the mist of Mr Picardo's glib spin. He calls on the GSLP Liberal government to make itself accountable to Parliament for its companies and asks what it has to hide and doesn't want the people of Gibraltar to know.
In other news this week, the judge in the Marache trial, who was brought in especially for this case, discharged the jury and will continue hearing evidence himself. Sir Geoffrey Gregson did not give the reasons for his decision, although he assured the Supreme Court that he's not taken his decision lightly.
When the jury walked into the Supreme Court this morning at 10 to 11, Sir Geoffrey told them that what was about to happen might come as a surprise. He suggested some might be pleased, but others wouldn't. The High Court judge said that after careful consideration, he'd come to the conclusion that the only proper way to proceed was to discharge the jury and to continue hearing this case himself. Sir Geoffrey apologised to the jury for depriving them of the opportunity to try the case. He thanked them for the time, care and attention they'd given to date and apologised again for the inconvenience. This isn't something that happens often. In fact, one experienced lawyer citing this book by John Restano claims that it could be the first time since 1752 that a judge decides to continue hearing a trial himself, having discharged the jury. Benjamin, Solomon and Isaac Marache, together with Leanne Turnbull, face 2 charges of conspiracy to defraud. They've pleaded not guilty. The judge has continued hearing evidence this afternoon and will resume tomorrow morning.
A fire broke out at a nightclub in Ocean Village on Sunday evening. The fire brigade described Zest nightclub as having been well alight when firefighters arrived on the scene at about 1 in the morning. According to a fire brigade spokesperson, the fire was brought under control in about 15 minutes with the use of 2 jets from 2 different hydrants. The nightclub was closed and empty at the time and nobody was hurt in the blaze, which the fire brigade suspects may have been caused by an electrical fault. Now, the Sunborn floating hotel is expected to open for business in February at the latest. The ship has been kitted out with 182 rooms, 22 of them suites, as well as 5 bars and restaurants, conference rooms, a ballroom and a casino. The average price for a room will be around £200 a night. Our reporter Jonathan Sacramento was invited on board for a media tour.
Over the last few months, this is the view we've had of the Sunborn Hotel, pretty much a building site. But today, for the first time, they opened the doors to the media, and we've had a glimpse of what this hotel will look like once it's operational. The Sunborn Hotel will be able to hold up to 2,500 people at any one time. A rear entrance will allow wedding, reception, conference or event guests to enter the ship separately to hotel guests. Sunborn says all the fittings have been sourced to a high standard with no expense spared so as to maintain 5-star quality throughout the ship.
The designers of the hotel build Mandarin Oriental hotels, so that's the level of fit out. Anyone who's stayed in a Mandarin Oriental or been in a Mandarin Oriental will know the quality of textures. You can see it in the decor, the finishings, the touches, everything from the service channel coverings to the luxurious carpets to the lighting, the music systems, the sound, the ballroom we're in now with the very expensive Bose music system, which is throughout the whole hotel.
There are 182 hotel rooms on board, 22 of them suites. The largest of these, the Royal Suite, is 142 square meters and designed for VIP guests. Standard rooms come fitted with touchscreen panels for total control of the room environment. And a natural lighting effect allows sunlight to come through to the bathrooms with no loss of privacy. The average price of a room will be around £200, depending on seasonal adjustments.
A great statistic out that 61% of people who arrive by air into Gibraltar Airport don't stay here. So we help change that by increasing capacity of hotel rooms by 37%.
Corporate functions ordinarily account for 20% of a hotel's income. Sunborn estimates that, for them, this will be more like 30 to 40%.
The Gibraltar PLC success we know about. We know about the relationship with London and how much the finance centre works, and that drives business forward. How that helps us is that we're seeing from exhibition testing we've done that people want to come to Gibraltar, they want to come and have what are called MICE events, which are conferences and exhibitions. To the extent we've had £5 million worth of inquiries. What's so cool about that is we have one event, for example, in February. There will be 200 people coming here. Those 200 people here are all business leaders. That's people who may have never come to Gibraltar before. What that does is just helps the economy and drive it all forward.
The hotel is expected to sail to Ocean Village in November and be fully open for business in January or February. And 6 giant hydraulic arms will attach the vessel to the seabed for maximum stability. So, no, hotel guests will not suffer from seasickness.
There was a collision between the Guardia Civil's Rio Tormes and a GDP vessel this week, the MOD has confirmed. The incident took place off Europa Point during the escort of RFA Wave Ruler, a tanker tasked with providing fuel, food, fresh water, ammunition and other supplies to the Royal Navy. GBC understands the Royal Navy ordered the Spanish vessel to leave the area. When the Rio Tormes failed to do so, the ensuing manoeuvring led to a collision, though no damage was caused. A Convent spokesperson says the UK government has been alerted and the matter is to be raised with Spain at a high level. And we'll be back with more of this week's news after the break.